working. I didn't say all that for nothing. I'm here right now with Frank Gale. He is the president, the director of the Police Foundation right here in the state of Colorado. This is his podcast. This is getting ready to be live, real talk with the FOP. I'd say it's real shit because it is the way he talks. When y'all hear him speak about mental health, about behavioral health, how deputies are afraid to talk about it because they may lose their jobs. You got to hear this, how inmates and deputies suffer the same I'm gonna be real, same shit, same emotional trauma, and we continue to superimpose it on each other instead of understanding each other as being humans. We look at deputies as being perfect, and that causes a lot of problems. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that cause a lot of problems, but you know, part of it is, you know, people are fearful to get help, and they're resistant to getting help. And when that happens with whether it's community people, whether it's people who are incarcerated, whether it's officers, whoever it is, you know, that's a recipe for disaster. People have got to prioritize their emotional health and their mental health wellness, and they gotta, you know, they have to do things that are that are proactive rather than reactive. They can't wait till they hit rock bottom. They have to reach out and get some help and start talking about the things that are affecting them and causing them, you know, to having a hard time dealing with their emotional trauma. And, you know, that's just living life is hard, and people sometimes experience things that are hard, and so they need to be able to somehow or another be able to get the help that they need so that they can be balanced and so that they can be so they can cope with the trauma that is that you know people experience. And people who are in public safety, people who are incarcerated have a higher propensity for that. They have a higher propensity for that experience, which is, you know, just the nature of you know, that environment, the environment of being in law enforcement, you know, working in a correctional facility, or, you know, just working the streets, or people, you know, that are coming from, you know, underserved communities, where in places where there, you know, there's a great amount of crime. All of these things tie together, and they affect all human beings the same way.
Deputies and inmates alike, you've watched them both suffer the same emotional dysregulation. Am I correct when you say that?
It's because it's a human thing.
It's a human thing.
Anybody who's a human being, you know, is gonna be affected by emotional trauma, and you know, that's what has to be dealt with. That's what has to be understood by our society today, is that people that are experiencing emotional trauma, they need that help. And it's important, you know, by doing that, by getting help, by having good programs and strong programs to assist people in that regard, we're only going to improve our society.
So deputies should not be afraid. Let me ask you this, because most deputies, I want to say this, and we ain't going to give them too much. This is Frank Gale, the Police Foundation director. And he is counsel to myself, Abo's Marketing. You guys are hearing it live. We ain't going to give you too much because the show is coming. But I want to ask this one question. What can we do to make deputies feel more safer to ask for help when they don't really recognize, or when they starting to recognize that they need it because they're afraid to get fired? And we don't want to give them too much, but what can they do to like not expose their treatment or not expose their information to anyone? Because that's important in the destigmatization process.
Confidentiality is everything when you're dealing with mental health wellness. It's everything. And so we have a program through the Colorado Police Officers Foundation, a mental health wellness program, where we have counselors that work for us in-house. You know, officers contact us, and, you know, they get a referral to these people. We don't know who they are or what their situation is. We don't ask. We just provide the referral, and then they go and they see the mental health counselors. We fund it. We pay for that. Community needs the same thing. Community needs a place where people can just go and get that help and get that without having to worry about confidentiality, without having to worry about, you know,
who knows what,
and having you know their personal situation exposed, because you know, we live in a society that will stigmatize people around that, And that's certainly the case in the law enforcement profession, but I think it's true even in just, regular society.
Right.
People say, oh, they got this or they got that, or they can't do this, or they're this way. And, and now by stigmatizing people, you're not helping them. We got to do things that destigmatizes it and takes that stigma away and says, hey, this is normal, because it is an injury. They used to call it PTSD because they referred to it as post-traumatic stress disorder. Now it's PTSI because they realize it's post-traumatic stress injury. And that's the truth. When you have emotional trauma, that's an injury. It's just like a person who broke their finger, broke their arm.
You go to the doctor, right?
That's right. Sprain their ankle. They have to receive treatment for that. And,
right.
And so it's the same thing when you're talking about issues of your mind.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Right. That's powerful. One of the things that we're working on together is destigmatizing this thing. Right here, FOP, Frank Gale, you heard it. We telling them like it is. This is real talk about real life issues. It's coming soon. I say we should name it Real Talk because he's talking some real shit. And I'm just saying that it's you're gonna hear some things on this show that's gonna pique your interest. You're gonna hear some things that you may not like. You're gonna hear some things that may challenge your beliefs. But it's one thing that you're gonna hear. You're gonna hear some real talk on the FOP, the Colorado FOP Frank Gale Real Talk podcast. You've seen it right here first on ABO's cameras. And man, we thank you. You've been a consultant, a big brother to us. And we do realize that you're going to transform a lot of lives with this show. First one ever, right? First podcast ever for FOP.
First one I know of.
You hear that, Dr. Gorgons? You hear that, Nina Minagawa? This thing is coming. You hear that, Leora? Joseph? We going to have y'all right here on this table talking to y'all about real talk. Trust. Frank Gale is inviting y'all sooner or later. Am I right?
Yes.
You're going to have him right here? You're going to have him right here, huh?
Absolutely.
So y'all see this? Okay. We're going to sign off and go and enjoy ourselves. It's Friday and we off. Thank you.